So I bought a used motorcycle. So ever since I got married, I sold my wife's car on Carson. I decided to take the train to work, and let me tell you, it was a horrible experience. This city was not designed for public transport, which led me to the purchase of this used motorcycle. So if you're interested to do the same thing, I'm going to show you how you can buy a used motorcycle in Malaysia. All right, let's get started. So where can you find great used motorcycle deals? So here are some websites that I recommend. So the first one is mudah.my, the second one is Carousel, the third one is Facebook listings. Even if you don't intend to buy at any of these websites, I think it's a great idea to browse around so at least you can have a rough idea how much is the market rate for the motorcycle that you want. And word of caution, scams are everywhere, so just use common sense. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. But out of all that option, the best thing is to just announce to your network, like, hey, I'm looking for a used bike. If you know anybody who wants to sell their bike, let me know. I guarantee you that somebody somewhere out there is bound to get rid of theirs and they're going to contact you, because that's exactly how I got this Vespa. All right, so the next step, let's say you identified a motorcycle that you want. So contact the owner and go for a viewing. So I'm going to teach you 3 things that you should look out for in a good used motorcycle. Assuming that this is the motorcycle that you want. And the first thing that you should look out for is any scratch or dent mark. So that's a telltale sign that the motorcycle has been dropped. In my motorcycle here, when I was walking around, I noticed that there's a bit of scratch mark here, here, and minor scratch marks here that goes all the way back. So that's the only flaw that I saw at the time. Obviously, the owner dropped this bike before, but judging from how deep the scratches are, it's not a major crash or anything. It can happen to anybody. So I thought it was still acceptable. If it does have scratch marks like this is a great bargaining chip for you to negotiate the price a little bit lower from the owner. All right, so the second thing that you can take a look at is the tire condition. So if you look at the tires, this is a pretty new tire, a lot of threads. So in this case, it's a 5-6-year-old bike, new tires. So it's a good first impression. Let's take a look at the back. The back tires, this is not as new as the front, but we still have a lot of threads here, so it's pretty good. Okay, so the last thing you're gonna look at, you wanna make sure that the motorcycle is serviced on time and it's not being neglected. So for my example here, the owner saved all the receipts and put them in the compartment below. Gonna borrow this key, gonna open it up. Okay, so here's a service book. So this guy has really good records of all the servicing that he has done. So I take a look at all of this before I decided to buy the bike. My first impression is that the owner took pretty good care of this bike. So those are the 3 things you can visually inspect when you go check out the motorbike. The motorbike serviced regularly, no major dent or scratch marks, good tires. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but it's a good first impression. Okay, so next up, the test drive. Okay, so first I made sure that the instrument panel works. So if I turn this on, yeah, that seems to be working. And I would need to make sure that the turn signals are also working. That's very important. Okay, and then the one on the rear. All right, so I did that for both sides. Need to make sure that the headlight is working, the regular headlights. There you go, high beam, low beam. Okay, everything seems to be good. All right, so next, the actual test drive. So I took it out on the main road with faster flowing traffic. I tested the acceleration full throttle to make sure that everything is nice and smooth, no weird noises. So then I went to a quieter part of town where there's nobody on the road. So I went really fast on a straight line, and then I did an emergency brake, both of these handles, front and back, both of them together, to make sure that the brakes are fine and it's able to stop me in an emergency. So the last thing I did was I tried some cornering maneuvers, just making sure that there's no weird noises while I did my turns. So I think my whole test drive, 15-20 minutes, everything is perfectly fine. The bike, in my opinion, is flawless. So I went to the next stage, which is the negotiation. All right, so now that you like the bike checks out. When it comes to negotiation, that's why the earlier research that you did online, so you know how much is a fair price if his asking price is higher than market value or lower than market value. So doing that homework before will help you a lot. So your best bargaining chips to negotiate the price down is if it has any scratch marks or dents, worn out tires, and no service records. The guy is also trying to make some money. You also try to save some money. So negotiate respectfully, and hopefully you guys can meet somewhere halfway and make the deal come true. All right, so now how are we going to transfer ownership? So if you buy a used motorcycle at a motorcycle shop, they're gonna take care of everything for you. But if you buy a used bike from another owner like I did, there's 3 ways you can do this. So the first one is both of you have to head down to JPJ and then do the ownership transfer. It's gonna be really cheap to do that, 2 or 3 ringgit if I'm not mistaken. So the second option is that you can go to any motorcycle shop, especially the bigger ones. They would have some sort of service counter where they can help to apply the ownership transfer for you online. And I don't think you can do this yourself online. The bike shop can do it. So that's going to cost you 100 ringgit. So this is the one that I did. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. The third option is you can hire a runner to run all these documents for you. This would probably be the most expensive option. I don't have a recommendation. Just Google up motorcycle JPJ runner or something and some guy's phone number will show up. Give that person a call. So originally we wanted to save as much money as possible by going to the JPJ itself. But this one day, the guy that I'm buying the bike from was at a bike shop, and then he figured that, he can apply for the ownership transfer right then and there. So he called me up and like, hey, are you free? I'm like, yes, I am. I drove all the way up to Kapong to that bike shop. So once we arrived, the seller had to give the original grant and then scan his IC together with his thumbprint. And then the clerk did the same thing to me, my IC with my thumbprint. And then once that's done, we had to pay 100 ringgit for this whole process. So they're gonna print out a piece of paper stating that they have applied for the ownership transfer, and they staple that together with the original grant from the previous owner. So if you applied for ownership transfer at a motorcycle shop like me, here's what I have to do. So before you head down to JPJ, make sure you got these 3 things ready, all right? So the first one is the document that has the grant from the original owner. The second piece of paper that says that the ownership transfer process has already been done online. And the third one I forgot to do, and then the clerk at the bike shop also forgot to tell me, is that I have to buy insurance before coming into JPJ. If you haven't bought insurance, I highly recommend you to do so. You can do that online. I actually did a video about this, how to renew your car insurance. It's going to be similar for motorbike, so I'm going to leave the link somewhere here so you can get the best, cheapest rate. So at the time I was at JPJ, they saw my documents and then they asked, hey, where's your insurance? I'm like, what? And they said, oh yeah, you need insurance. Just go to my EG office down there and buy insurance and come back. So because I was kind of hasting, I want to get everything done in one day, I think the lady who worked at my EG counter kind of took advantage of my hasty condition and overcharged me with expensive insurance, add-ons that I don't really need. I end up paying about 300 something for a Vespa. It's ridiculous. And also I have 55% NCD for my car. That is not transferable on a motorbike. So that's something to keep in mind, which is why it's 300 something. So make sure before you head down to JPJ, get your insurance done online. So once I came back to the JPJ office, I presented them all the documents. They verified that it was me, thumbprint again, and then I had to pay 2 ringgit for my road tax because it's a 125cc motor. So after payment, they canceled the old grant and they printed a new one with my name on it. So it's stating that I am the owner. Nice. So that's it. That's all the paperwork that you need to do to transfer ownership for a used motorcycle. All right, now I got all the paperwork out of the way. So there are still some stuff I got to buy before I can start riding. So I got this retro looking helmet. This is open face and I think it suits the styling of the Vespa very well. So this is 110 ringgit off of Shopee. I got these riding gloves because I'm new to riding. And the whole point of this is that if you happen to fall, the first thing is usually you would have your hands sticking out to break the fall. And if you have these, it will save your hands. The last thing I bought is a phone holder. This is a really nice sturdy one, but unfortunately it doesn't fit. This thing will fit most Japanese scooters, but for the Vespa, this thing is a lot thicker, and then the screw down there also doesn't fit this hole. So I probably have to buy another one, maybe clamp here somewhere, I think. Alright, so the cool thing about a Vespa is that you can fit all of this stuff in the compartment beneath the seat. I can put my gloves inside here, and this goes right there. That's the gas tank. Look at that. Nice and neat. I don't have to bring my helmet around. Well, there you go. That's how you buy a used motorcycle in Malaysia. I hope this has been helpful. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment of what you think.